And welcome to Co-Work Radio. I'm Catherine Raymock.
And I'm Jane Walker-Wood.
And we are here right now with Rodney Loehr. He is the co-founder of Aquaviable Solutions, and he spent 15 years in public and private water sectors. We'll talk to him a little bit about that. Co-founded Aquaviable Solutions, basically, that brings water from air to our drought-stricken California. And first of all, welcome. How are you, Rodney?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well.
Really? Hey, you actually did not grow up in California, right? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the northern part of Arizona in a rural area outside of Flagstaff. My graduate school mentor, he helped with the Brin at UCSB back in the day, and I worked under him and encouraged me to actualize my research findings and move to Santa Barbara.
So how did the idea come to you?
The idea of making water from air with this technology came to me after I had finished my grad school studies. I moved to LA. I worked with a wholesale vending machine company doing vending services, and I had to help out with some of the service calls. One of my first service calls, they said the machine's running, but the sodas aren't getting cold. I said, all right, unplug it. I'll come down there and take a look. Drive down there, and the office manager is furious at me, and there's a puddle of water on the office floor, and I'm on my hands and knees with paper towels like, wow, this is a lot of water. This is a lot of water. I had just finished getting my master's in water resources management. It's like, interesting.
So basically, is the machine taking condensation from the air and then putting it through filters so I get a glass of water? A lot of our listeners are not technical, so...
I make water from the air, just like how water forms on a cold glass. Why you may be to be reminded to have a coaster at your aunt's house, that's the water we use. The water is thankfully so pure that we make out of the air. It requires minimal treatment. We do that to comply with California's.
What happens, sorry, because right now we've got a big fire going on in California. What happens when there's a lot of pollution in the air? Can you still take the water out of the air?
Well, we treat the water. So there's a number of filtering treatment systems, the first one being an electrostatic air filter. So a lot of the particulate matter, dust, smoke, stuff will get caught within there. Have a active carbon filter that'll catch the other things that are floating in the air, and by that point, hit it with UV light, put a little bit of alkalinity into the water, make it taste better, healthier. And
that's fascinating, because I was actually just at Home Improvement, and a lot of the stores are running out of water, bottled water here. So this is a great thing to have in your home in case of emergency, an earthquake or a fire.
Right, and that's why we've partnered with solar panel companies. So when the power does go out because of a fire, the grid that we just experienced here, you still have premium quality drinking water available for you and your loved ones.
It almost sounds too good to be true. And I've got to think, has somebody else thought of this and tried it before? But first, what kind of quantities of water are we talking about, and how long does the process take?
So we have a number of products. Our most popular is the AV5. It makes 5 gallons of water a day for home and offices. We're then able to scale the technology up. It's essentially bigger fans, bigger tanks. We haven't built one yet, but building inside a 40-foot shipping container, and we can make somewhere between 900 and 1,200 gallons a day. We're working to get a unit to Puerto Rico. We've got to get the electrical grid stuff taken care of
So
first.
It sounds like once you get the technology down, could a home actually operate on this? You could actually turn on your water or shower?
Mainly drinking water. Is that the idea?
Well, the drinking water is the low-hanging fruit, essentially, that most startups they have to hit to kind of catch their stride. We do have designs and the means. We've talked with developers where you integrate this system on their roof, and it simultaneously will cool the home and make water that you can then use, for showering.
Really,
for
and
food
even
preparation.
enough for the laundry and.
Yeah, for a family of 4 to 5, you're going to need at least 400 gallons per day, and we have units that can do that.
That's fantastic. I actually like to rinse my hair with pure water after to get the chemicals out.
Why does that
in
not
the water.
surprise me?
Well, it's the water here in town is
it's not the best.
I would say, chewy. There's a lot of stuff in there, and that's what makes our water taste so good, and that's why I have
Now,
having people
what
taste it.
if I mean, California, it's usually pretty moist, the air here, or where we are in Santa Barbara. What about places like Arizona where it's really dry? Can you still make water, or is it a lot less there?
It's significantly less, and also not as reliable as the coast here in Southern California. During the monsoon season in Arizona, it'll work fantastic. It'll make lots of water. But however, it's not consistent throughout the months like here we are on the South Coast.
How do you actually, because I don't, you can't package or you can't get a trademark or on something like taking condensation and turning it into water, right? Or a patent, I should say, rather. So how are you protecting your idea? Because it seems like there might be others that come after you. Were there some that came before you?
Well, the short answer is branding, making Aquaviable a recognizable and trusted source for your water. That's why our logo is kind of unique. You know, people see it, and we found market testing, people either love it, they hate it, but they remember it, and that they know what we stand for. That's a good thing. To talk about the patent issues, we have some provisional filings. We've done some interesting things. We're waiting on those. But the original idea goes back to 1901, a brakeman on the South Louisiana line. He's on the back. This is during when refrigerated rail cars first come into existence, and he's in the back just getting splattered with water. He's like, man, it'd be great if I could just catch this water and not get hit by it all day. And that's when it first came to be. Is making that happen.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I was really interested when you said you're going to send a machine to Puerto Rico because my parents live in the Virgin Islands, and it's a real problem drinking water, and especially right now. They have a generator, but most people don't even have regular water. So how, as a society, can we get more of these machines to places that really need them for emergencies?
Well, that's what Aquaviable is doing. When I started working with the technology, our small unit was not nearly as efficient. It was much less user-friendly, and it cost $4,800. We've now cut that price down to a quarter of that, and it works really great.
We are talking with Rodney Loehr, the co-founder of Aquaviable, basically creating water out of the air. And I've got some questions about partnerships for you in just a second. But how does relative humidity affect
That's
your process?
Richard, the engineer, is asking that question. Let's give him credit.
No, you're absolutely right. That's the water we start with. We treat that water that's in the air, and it's the relative humidity, as long as it's 35% or higher. Our technology works great. It makes me happy knowing it's efficient. It's between 7 to 17 cents electricity per gallon. Anything below the 35% threshold, it's just a decline in production and thus efficiency, and I get uncomfortable with it being a tech nerd like that.
Now, you're a member of Impact Hub here in Santa Barbara. Why did you join a co-working facility?
I initially needed a place to test my prototypes. They were all in my apartment, and it was like mad scientists look at their buckets and machines torn apart. And so Dan Farrick, the founder of Impact Hub, I had met with him months before and was basically calling him every other week, like, when are you guys opening? When are you guys opening? And he's like, well, we can do a soft opening in June because there was a space in the downstairs area. I was able to get a deal. There's a window, a desk, and then importantly for me, there's a drain in the back because I'm making lots of water, and it was still prototype phase, and I wasn't having a product I could stand by and be like, oh, this is great.
Aren't you also using their 3D printer? You talked to me once about something about 3D printing.
Yeah, we did some rapid prototyping, just testing some various configurations of the surface area and working with the condenser coils, which was, we could do that much quicker with the
So it's like
plastic.
a mini maker space down there at the hub, too.
Yeah. So what I did is I did printed out a 3D design of it that was hollow that I could fill with ice water, and then I could measure and see the production rates between the different designs. So it was really nice.
When I look at you, I don't see mad scientist, by the way. But if you put on a white lab coat, I don't know, maybe. Were you always that? Did you have that even as a child?
I've definitely been a tinkerer. I've definitely destroyed my fair share of lawnmowers and VCRs. And I've always had sort of that inventive mind. In middle school, I came up with, was like, oh, we could use electromatics to make this motor, and da-da-da. I was like, I turned to my teacher, I was like, look, I could make this happen, and this is how much it'll do. He goes, well, what's your energy use on it? I was like, oh, it's this. He goes, this try it at 110. What are your calculations? I was like, oh. And he then explained to me how direct current induction electric motors work and how it's a continuous circular current, how it is efficient.
Okay,
But
I'm now not understanding what you're talking about. And which brings me to my next question, because you're definitely a scientist. How do you do marketing, or do you have a partner who does that who
Absolutely.
speaks English?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was something early on. I recognized that that's not my strength. And my business partner, he has experience building brands and marketing and those sort of channels, and able to make it down to where I make water out of the air. I make great tasting drinking water.
And as you explained it to me, the water that's coming from the air doesn't have the heavy particles, so you're not even having to remove as much stuff as the water that's coming out of our tap has a lot more crap in it.
Yeah, stuff, sure. Our water, that's what makes it fairly easy. In my experience working within the water resources field for municipalities and water districts, is the amount of chemicals and minerals and things you have to do to get certain things out, but then you put things back in. And we start with pure water, and it's easy. The sun does the work for us.
Sounds great for people who have like children or the elderly, and really fantastic.
If you blind taste test, could you tell the difference between the water that you create and bottled water?
Distilled water. Is this the same as distilled water?
We have a mineral pack that we impart some alkalinity, so it tastes better and it's better for you. But we have customers that have kidney issues, and they forego that. We also had them at medical offices where it does make distilled water. It's been distilled by the sun.
So I can use it in my iron like I would other distilled water. Okay, great.
Yeah. If people want to know more or even interested possibly in purchasing a unit, how can they get a hold of you?
Aquaviable.com, AQUAVIABLE.
Or you can go to our website and just see all Rodney's information.
That is coworkerradio.com. Rodney, terrific. Thank you so much for being here.
Very
Thank you so
interesting,
much.
Rodney.
Yeah, have a great day. Okay, we are going to be right back after this, and we are going to be talking with Mark Gustafson. He is the co-founder of Story Bicycles, and you are going to be fascinated. Coming up next.